You're just funny. The way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how?
Come here, though. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
What is going on, friends? Hey, thanks for checking out the show. Name's Tony here. If you're new to this is a microcast episode, so it's a very brief episode where I talk about health, wellness, and social interaction. So today's episode is no different. We're going to talk about the ups and downs of social media. There's some negative impacts, as we know, but there's also some positive impacts. So like always, some articles that I read to get inspiration for this episode, I will link those in the episode notes. So check that out. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, you can look in the description and I'll leave all the links there. You know, there's a very complex relationship that we have with social media. A lot of us kind of look at it as the internet. It's what we're doing on our phones. It's not that big of a deal. But, you know, if you get a little bit more and more immersed in the subject as I have over the years, it's fascinating. It's fascinating what it does to the effects of our brain, the dopamine hit that we're getting, which we're going to talk about in the next microcast episode. So make sure you subscribe so you can get updates for that. Let's first dive into the negative impacts of social media. And there is some, by the way. One major one is the amount of time that we spend on these platforms. It's not uncommon for people to spend 6, 7, 8 hours a day scrolling through these feeds, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Of course, this can take a toll on your mental health. In fact, some studies show that an excessive amount of social media use is linked to increased feelings of anxiety, depression, and loneliness. And there's a very fascinating study that came out, and I'll try to find it and link it here. I heard a podcast from Huberman Lab, if I remember correctly, where they discussed the rise of social media 2 decades ago. So 20 years ago, the birth of, Meta, aka Facebook back then, but with a correlation of suicide rates going up, specifically in young girls. And as a new father, soon to be new father, that kind of terrifies me a little bit, because as a kid, I was bullied for sure. I bullied people, if I'm being honest. At one point, I wanted to be cool, so I wanted to stick to that crowd, and I was with a bad group of folks. So when I would bully these people and get bullied, but now you can get bullied at school, but you can also get bullied in the comment section, and there's all this like bullying going on, and it's very terrifying. So we have to kind of take that into account when our kids are looking at these social media platforms, and we have to understand the amount of burden that they're going to get when it comes to this stuff. And, of course, like this says here, it can actually cause a lot of loneliness, depression, and anxiety. So we have to be aware of that. Another negative impact is the way social media can distort perception of reality. It's easy to fall into the trap of like comparing ourselves to others based off of these highlights that they present in their feed. More often than not, a lot of people, in fact, I would say like 85%, I'm guilty of it as well most of the time, is on Instagram in particular, I'm talking more about the good things in my life, right? Rainbows and birds are chirping and everything is great on Instagram. And that's true with celebrities and these big influencers, right? And I think that's why the growth at TikTok is so fascinating, because now we're starting to realize that the authentic, real, funny, kind of not pretty, but the real shit is actually what people want to see. The real reality TV, not the Instagram reality TV and the Kardashians and all that, right? It's the TikTok era, which is why millennials and Gen Zs in particular are starting to immerse themselves more into TikTok, because they want that authentic. They want to hear from real people. So, but you look at like the Instagram reality, quote unquote, this can lead to a lot of feelings of inadequacy, low self-esteem. There's a lot of negative side effects to getting immersed too much into that. Like we're smart enough, I think, if you're over 30 to understand that The Bachelor and the Kardashians and all these reality TV shows are far-fetched and they're scripted and they're bullshit. They are. But if you're a younger kid and you're seeing that kind of same look on these social media platforms, whether it be influencers or celebrities on Instagram, most of the time that looks appealing and they think it's real, but really it's not. They're probably just trying to sell you something, most likely. So we have to, again, be very cautious of that. Finally, social media could be a breeding ground for negativity and harassment. And we've seen this time and time again, where I mentioned before about cyberbullying and online trolls. And, unfortunately, this is too common and I'm no expert in the matter, but you could do your own research and you could look that there is a ton of toxic behavior that has come from this over the years, and it just seems to be getting worse and worse. Whether that's internationally, trolls, or just locally in our community, and people hop in the comment section and the DMs, and they're just impacting us on a negative way. And that, again, over the course of time, whether it's a week, a month, a year, it could really impact someone's mental health, especially if you're younger and not fully developed. So there are some negative impacts, obviously. But with that said, there are positive impacts. I don't want this to be such a negative microcast. There are some positive impacts. So let's shift gears a little bit, and we'll talk about those. One major benefit is the way it connects us people and communities all around the world. In particular, me as a podcast host, I'm doing everything virtually now, which is exciting. Mainly because I do have a studio here where I've done podcasts in person, which are vastly better, in my opinion. However, I've also done virtual podcasts with people in the UK, Australia, California, all over the world, where I wouldn't be able to do that, in studio. Like, they're not going to come and fly because I can't afford to pay them. So, it's cool to do this stuff virtually. So there's some fantastic ways that we can connect on social media, and all those ways that I'm able to do that is from the DM, is by reaching out to people, and we're able to do that with social media. So it's very exciting. And, whether it's through shared interests or maybe causes that you're involved in, or simply just getting in touch with friends and family, there's some great positive impacts of social media when it comes to that. Another positive way is to give a voice to underrepresented groups, and it could create a fascinating social change. From grassroots movements to viral campaigns, social media has the power to impact millions of people all over the world. So it's such a great benefit to be involved in a group where you can easily share your message, get donations. I mean, there's so many great ways that we can now spread love and spread joy that we weren't able to 2 decades ago. So very fascinating. Lastly, social media can be a source for inspiration, education, from learning about new ideas and perspectives to discovering new products and services. Whether you're a small business or big business, the possibilities quite literally are endless. So for me, again, as a business owner, as a podcaster, I look at that as a huge benefit for social media, because you're able to spread awareness, whether it's, about my podcast, about our business, Meet Cute Box. I'm able to do everything through social media, and it doesn't cost me anything. It's just me talking about it, friends sharing it. It's just unbelievable. And there's so many great benefits. And again, I don't want to bash on social media. I think if we're just conscious of it and aware of the negative effects, and we're careful about what we're doing with our phones and with social media, I think we're going to be fine. Now, the next microcast episode, we're going to dive deeper into the effects of social media and what it actually has on our brain. And some of the impacts might actually shock you. That's going to be out in a couple weeks. So just make sure you're subscribing to the podcast so that way you're getting up to date with every single episode. Sorry, you're probably hearing Oliver in the background. Even though there's negative and positive consequences on these platforms, it's ultimately up to us to use them the right way and to use them to serve our well-being and goals. So we can point fingers at social media all we want, but just like anything else, there's a lot of negative bullshit out there. Cigarettes, alcohol, all these things that are legal over the age of, 18 or 21. And they're bad for us. We know they're bad for us. Studies are coming out that it's causing cancer and liver disease and, alcoholism and, the ripple effect that those have on your loved ones. But we still do it anyway. So just because social media is out there and it's legal, it could be used the right way, just like alcohol and cigarettes can. Everything in moderation, right? So just like you shouldn't be drinking 6 hours a day, every single day, maybe you shouldn't be on your phone for 6 hours a day, every single day. I don't know. Just a thought. But with that said, thanks for listening to this microcast. We will see you next time. Share this with a friend that needs to hear it. Stay healthy, friends. Peace. Oh, hey there. First of all, thanks for making it to the end of this video. Not a lot of people do, according to the YouTube analytics, but I do want to say thanks for listening to this. There's some more episodes if you want to check those out, and they're all just as good. But if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out those timestamps below to reference some of the topics I talked about, as well as some discount links to some of our sponsors and affiliates. But thanks for listening to this episode, and we'll see you next time.